Good evening YouTube. Now, in today's Tuesday episode, we're going to be showing you how to fit bonded windows into a camper van. And the method that we're going to be using means that the make and model is completely irrelevant because it works for every single one. The tool we're going to be using is a nibbler. Now this one is an air nibbler, but you can get these just plug straight into a 13 amp plug if you haven't got a compressor at home. But this is the easiest, fastest and best way of cutting out your van windows, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this episode. So today we're actually fitting the windows in a Nissan NV200, but like I said, this method works with all but any bonded window. The reason we're using a nibbler is, one, when you use a jigsaw you've got to be so careful not to scratch the paintwork on the outside of the body, plus you have to drill multiple holes and then kind of guess the radius of your corners and hope that you get it right. With a nibbler, none of that is necessary. Now the first thing you want to do before putting big holes in the side of your van is make sure that the windows that have been delivered definitely fit the van. So I'm going to show you on this small window because it's easier to hold the camera, but you just want to offer the window up and make sure that it definitely fits in the recess, because the last thing you want to do is cut a big hole in your van, then unpackage your window and realise that it doesn't actually fit. Once you've checked your windows fit, you're also going to want to check that you've got all the fitting kit that you're going to need, which is wipes for wiping it down to clean it. This is your primer paint, you paint on with this, and then your adhesive to actually fasten it on, and then your U-trim which knocks around the window, which I'll show you later in the video. Bit of free advertising for van pimps. This video isn't sponsored by them, it's just where the customer decided to get the van windows from. So the first thing we're going to need to do is cut out these supports. You don't always have these, and as you'll see on this side, because it's a smaller window, there is no support in there. But on this side we're going to cut a straight line in line with the outer rim there, and then we're going to cut again at least the thickness of the nibbler above that, just so the nibbler can run around nice and easy. So we're going to cut that out with the grinder first. Be careful on this bottom one that you don't cut all the way through this back skin, because it is very tight on some vans. Just a nip like that, then you can usually bend it off. Just to make sure you don't go through that skin, and you'll see why later. Now we need to get the nibbler into the door, so that means drilling a hole the size of your nibbler head. So obviously you're going to need to check the size of your nibbler head for the size hole that you're going to need. The easiest way to drill through metal is by drilling a pilot hole. So just make sure that when you drill your pilot hole, you don't want to drill it tight to here, because then when you put the bigger drill bit through, it's going to be encroaching into here, and we want to save this edge. This wants to be saved and does not want to be impeded at all. So it doesn't matter if you even come further in, because you can always run the nibbler back. But we're going to drill a pilot hole, and then we're going to drill a larger hole big enough to fit the nibbler through. And then it's time to start nibbling. So with a nibbler, all you're going to need to do is let the nibbler sit against this rim and then just run it all the way around. No marking, no guessing, just let the nibbler do its job. So now the window's out, if there's any sharp edges, and there's a couple, we're just going to file them down, so when we knock on the U-trim to go around, it don't cut into it in any way. Now everywhere where the nibbler's been, there's obviously bare metal, so what we're going to do is, just by taking some primer, we're not going to spray it. Just spray some into the lid, and then using an artist brush, you can just very gently paint it on. You don't want it to run down the door, especially not on the outside. Now using a rubber or a wooden mallet, or if you don't have one of those, a rolling pin will do the job. We're going to knock this trim all the way around the outside. Remember, you are going to have a joint in this, so you want to put that somewhere where it's not going to get seen as much. I usually go for the inside edge here, because that's going to be tucked into the corner of the van where it's the darkest point, just to hide it a little bit. This usually comes really badly cut, so we're going to trim that off straight, just so we can get a nice clean edge when we join that up at the end. When I cut these, I always like to go overzealous on the first cut, and then we can get it lined up better and cut it back again. Remember, you can always cut a bit more off, but you can't add a bit back on. Perfect. So for this next step, we've come inside because we want a nice flat surface to be able to work on. What we're going to do is, to start with, we're going to take our window wipe and we're going to wipe all the way around the darker edge, you can probably see just there, and make sure that all that is clean. Once that's dry, we're then going to take our window primer and with our applicator apply the primer to the same dark bead around the outside of the window. Then we're going to leave that to dry, and once that's fully cured, we can then go back out to the van, and with our tubes of sealant, we can put our sealant around the outer perimeter and bond the window onto the van. Make sure you shake your primer really well before you actually open it and use it. Now once I start actually putting the adhesive onto the van, you won't be able to see this, so I'm going to show you now. This is actually a depth guide, and what you do is, with the triangle facing away from where you're running, so see the triangle there, you're going to turn it that way and run that way, and then running that along the van is going to give you a nice thick bead, and the triangle sort of puts a nice triangular top onto the top of it. So you run that all the way around the van, kind of like a pyramid facing off the van, so when you press on, you've got a nice thick bead, but it's thinner at the top, so it squashes down. And there you have it, by far the easiest way to install bonded windows. Grab yourself a nibbler, even if it's a 240 volt version, save you buying a compressor and airline and everything that you probably won't ever need again. I hope you've enjoyed that video and it helps you out with your campervan build. If you have, please give us a thumbs up, drop me a comment to let me know that you're watching, or if you've got any questions on any part of that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for weekly campervan related videos every Tuesday evening at 8 PM. Remember, if in doubt, get the Sikaflex out, and we'll see you next Tuesday.